Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to day 2 of box plots. We are going to start by just summarizing what we did last time, and then we're just going to extend it a little bit by just talking about how you can look at box plots and how you can interpret what the box plots shows you. All right, so really quickly, as a quick little recap, okay? So when you are creating a box plot, right, there are 5 steps, right? The first step was we put the numbers in order from least to greatest. So step 1 is to put the numbers in order from least to greatest. Once you have the numbers in order from least to greatest, you want to identify what the minimum value and the maximum value is. Okay, so here got our numbers in order, identified the minimum and the maximum, which is 2 and 9. After we do that, step 3 would be to find the median. Okay, and so we got our numbers in order, we've identified the minimum and the maximum. Now we're finding the median, which median is the middle number. So in this case it was 5, and when it gave me my middle number, I now have divided my numbers up into 2 sections. I have the lower half and the upper half, okay? And so after step 3, step 4 is to now find the median of the lower half and find the median of the upper half, okay? The median of the lower half of numbers is what's called the lower quartile. And then the median of the upper half is called the upper quartile. So what we did is, again, after we found our median, we now have 2 sides. Find the median of this side, find the median of this side, okay? And then once we have our 5 points, step 5 is just to create or construct the box plot. And so we did that by just putting numbers at each, putting dots at each of the numbers that we have identified. So the minimum and the maximum, we got the median, the lower quartile, and the upper quartile, okay? And so that is, again, a recap of how you create a box plot. Again, guys, it is simple. Numbers are in order from least to greatest, all right? Once you put them in order, lowest number, highest number, minimum, maximum, find the median, okay? Once you get that middle number, it divides your data into 2 sections, lower half, upper half. Find the median again, all right? Least to greatest, minimum, maximum, median, okay? That's really how you create a box plot, all right? So now we're gonna finish where we left off. So now we have our box plot constructed. And so a lot of times what you're going to be asked is, sometimes you're going to be given a box plot and be asked, okay, what does this box plot represent, okay? And so when you're just looking at a box plot, what you don't know is you don't know exactly what the numbers are, okay? So the box plot is just kind of a snapshot or a way of kind of seeing where your data is, all right? So looking at this box plot, I can immediately know that the numbers in this set is between 0 and 14, right? Because that is my minimum value, that is my maximum value. So I know all the numbers in my set of data fall in between that range of numbers, okay? So that's one thing I know, okay? Another thing is you need to know that each quartile represents 25% of the data, okay? And so, in other words, what that means is 25% of my data falls in between the minimum value and the lower quartile, okay? Okay, so this is called the lower quartile. Another way it's referred to is Q1, okay? So we know 25% of our data falls in between that. We also know from the lower quartile or Q1 to the median, okay, that's the median or Q2, there's another 25% that falls in between. And the reason that is because, again, this was the median between these two numbers, okay? So there's 25% between each section, okay? Actually, am I right? Yeah, 25% here, 25% of my data falls here, 25% of it falls there, and then the last 25% falls there. Again, this is my upper quartile or Q3, and then this is my maximum value. Okay, so with that said, again, each section, so what you should see really quickly is this section looks like it's longer. So a common mistake is for students to think that there's more numbers that fall in between that, but that's not the case, okay? Again, from each point to the next point, there's just 25% of the data, okay? So if I'm answering some questions, right? What percentage of students read 3 or less books? Well, 3 or less books is 25%, right? What percent of students read between 3 and 9 books? Again, 25% here, okay? The number of students between 9 and 11 books, another 25%. And then from 11 to 14, 25% again. So again, all of that makes up our 100% of our data. Again, the key is, even though the sections might look smaller, that does not mean that that section has more numbers come from that section of it, right? What it means is, in each section, 25% of the data. Again, even though this section is smaller, there could be numbers that are repeated in that section, right? There could be multiple numbers. So we don't know, again, with the box plot, we don't know exactly how many numbers fall where. It just kind of shows us a bit of a picture, okay? Now, what's the percentage of students that read 9 or more, right? So 9 or more books. Well, there's 2 sections of our box plot that fall 9 or more. So in this case, that would be 50% of our data falls in between those 2 sections. Okay, and then how many students read 3 or more books, right? So 3 or more, we got 25, 25, 25 for a grand total of 75% of our data. Okay, students who read 14 books or less, okay, 14 or less. So starting from here all the way back, okay, that is 100% of our data, okay? And then the number of students that read 100 books, okay? How many students read 100 books? None, right? So 0% of students read 100 books, right? Because we said nobody read more than 14 because that was our maximum value, okay? So again, in a situation like this, again, you're going to be asked, sometimes you're going to be given a box plot and you are going to need to interpret or, read the box plot and answer some questions. And that's kind of what we did there. And you're going to do more practice here in just a moment. Okay. All right. And then lastly, just want to identify, we talked about these things. So with that, again, I've already said this, but I want to identify these things again, okay? So we said that this is our minimum value, okay? It's also known as the lower extreme, okay? But minimum value is how you're gonna hear me refer to it. We also, the upper extreme is called, again, the maximum value, okay? So minimum value, maximum value, okay? And then we have these 3 points are referred to as our 3 quartiles, okay? And so the lower median is, again, the lower quartile. Another name for this is also Q1, okay? So quartile 1, all right? Or the first quartile, all right? The second quartile is the median. Okay. Again, that's also known as Q2. Right. And then the upper median is the upper quartile. And that is also known as Q3. Okay. And so you have these 5 points, and sometimes they're called the 5-number summary. Okay. Again, these points are just kind of summarizing what the information is, or our set of data. Okay, so it's just a summary, just a snapshot, just a picture. Okay, and again, we can use these. We can use a box plot to identify the following things. Right, median, mode, range, interquartile range, and then mean. All right, so I'm gonna just talk about these really quickly. Okay, so the median is the center point. We've define that. That is our step 3. Once we put them in order, find the minimum and the maximum, find the median is that center point. The mode, okay? So the smallest portion of the box and whisker is where most of our results are, okay? So in this case, right, where it is the smallest, that is where most of the numbers fall. So this is kind of counterintuitive, meaning you would normally think that the longer it is, the more numbers in our data is found there. It's actually the opposite, okay? Where if it's a small section, and because this is 25% of our data, and it's that little small section, that means most of the data, like there has to be some repeating numbers, right, in that section, okay? So, again, the smallest section, because again, remember, there's 25% of our data in each of these sections, right? And so if it's a longer section, that just means the numbers are actually more spread out. It doesn't mean there's more of those numbers there. It just means that those numbers are more spread out, okay? If you're asked for the range, right? To find the range, what you're doing is you're taking the maximum minus the minimum, right? So in this case, if I wanted the range of this box plot, I would take 10 and I would I would subtract it by 1. And in this example, right, I would do, again, 10 minus 1. That would give me 9 as my range for that box plot above. Okay, so that's just an example for there. This interquartile range, another name for that is the IQR, okay? And to find the interquartile range, all you're doing is you're taking the third quartile and you're subtracting the first quartile. So you're doing, in other words, you are doing the upper quartile minus the lower quartile, or Q3 minus Q1, okay, right? And so in this example, okay, with the box plot that we have above, the upper quartile is 8. The lower quartile is 2. So I would do 8 minus 2, and that would give me 6. And so 6 is the interquartile range. Okay, it is the range from quartile to quartile, right? So in other words, the numbers from 2 to 8 is 6, right? That's the range of the interquartile. And then mean. If a question asks about the mean, you cannot find the mean for our set of data in a box plot. Okay, by looking at a box plot, you don't know what the mean is because, again, you don't know exactly what the values are. And so to find the mean, you add up all the numbers and divide by how many numbers there are. Well, I don't know just by looking at my box plot exactly how many numbers there are. Again, I just know that these are, the middle points, the quartiles, the minimum and the maximum, but I don't know exactly how many numbers or how many 3s there are, or how many, how many times there's 1 or 2. I don't know that just by looking at the box plot, okay? So, guys, now that is all for the notes regarding box plots. And so now what we're going to do is there's going to be an activity just for you to continue to practice this, where you're just answering questions. I want to encourage you, please use your notes, refer back to them as you are answering the questions. You're going to be answering questions about the range, interquartile range, what percentage is in each. And so use your notes to help you answer questions and be able to interpret certain box plots. All right, so hopefully this has helped you understand and how to interpret and read box plots and understand information about a data set.